hi everyone. We are very welcome you on the crypto community. We welcome you on a CryptoView channel. And today I would like to present you and to make an interview with a very great man, with the founder and the CEO of the Gate.io, Dr. Linhan.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. And I would like to appreciate you, first of all, for this great opportunity to have a small talks and have a professional talk with you. Really appreciate your opinion, really appreciate your expertise. So I just would like to offer you not very standard format of our interview today. I would like to, let's say, combine the professional questions with your not private but personal things that you can bring to our audience, because I believe that today our audience is mostly focused for personal things of the public leaders of the company instead of going deeply into details of the product, of the technical, of the any other things that like hardware. Okay.
Sure.
You as our first like big guest on our channel and the first interview of a big name, I would like to again thank you for this time, and would like to thank our audience for their time to spend with us to get some more personal and professional information about you, Dr. Han.
Sure, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's begin. Okay.
Sure.
Actually, we already have 2 beautiful days right here in Dubai for the Blockchain Live. Really great event, which combined crypto community from all over the world. And our audience and our team would like to know better about the cross-chain interoperability. So the cross-chain interoperability is a major trend in blockchain development. And what do you believe? It will be essential for the future ecosystem or not? So how do you feel about the cross-chain?
Cross-chain, actually, I think cross-chain is quite important right now, especially, the cross-chain transaction.
Mm-hmm.
You see that, people, maybe some of them may want to do like operations between different chains, but I think this is not like the major demand right now. Right now, actually, a lot of applications and functions they can do like within one chain, right?
Yeah.
They can do like swap, exchange, all this kind of stuff, within one chain, within one app, right? They can do it like quickly, like in a very low cost. I think that's a very good way to do that.
Yeah, but this is the main thing, yeah. The
that's
low
right.
Cost.
Yeah,
it's about cost. Everything is about
that's
cost.
Right. Yeah, the cost lower, right?
Yeah.
They can do like most of the things within one chain.
Correct.
But people also need to transfer the assets, between different kind of chains, right? So this is quite important for them to transfer safely.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't think there's like a perfect solution, but layer 2 I think is a good solution for now, right? So before actually people use like bridge to transfer assets between different chains. But for the bridge, they also have like a centralized problem for them, right? It's not like safe enough. You still remember there's like a bridge called the multi-chain?
Yeah.
They cracked, by some parties, right?
Correct.
But for now, layer 2 is quite it's much better than before. People can transfer through layer 2 through like ZK rollup or OP rollup.
Mm-hmm.
It's like more like mature technology for people to do multi-chain transfer. I think that's quite important right now.
Yeah.
It's a good solution than before. Yeah.
So it's like the process which is under construction every single day. Yeah. So you put a big focus on the cross chains.
Yes.
Because this is up to date.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And okay, that's quite clear for me about the cross chains. And the next logical question after the zero knowledge proof, which is ZK proof. Technology has been in the spotlight today with our audience, with our community. So, in your opinion, how can it be applied in the real world, in the real business processes?
All right. Zero knowledge technology, they are very quite useful, especially in blockchain industry. We already use it a lot. For example, people use zero knowledge technology for rollups.
Yeah.
Like we talk about the layer 2. Like people
Correct.
use like ZK rollups for layer 2, right? There's several projects. For example, ZK Sync and also ZK EVM, right? It's very well used in this application. But like we also use it in the other application. For example, for cryptocurrency exchange like us, we want people know that we have 100% of the reserves for them. We don't move their funds into the other places. We hold their asset all the time. We have the full reserve of that, right? How to prove that? Before actually we don't have a good solution. How we do that? We do that like many years ago in 2020. At that time we use a Merkle tree to involve everybody's asset in like a database called Merkle tree, and then we send this Merkle tree to like audit company. They help to check all the details, all the information of the user's asset, right? So you cannot publish the Merkle tree because there's a privacy problem, right?
Privacy.
So you use like reputed like audit company to do that. And the problem is that some people they don't believe the audit company, so we don't have a perfect solution. But now you see with the ZK technology, we use ZK technology to do the algorithm and check the Merkle tree with the algorithm with the codes, right? And we open source code. Everybody can check all the rules in the in the code, and they believe ZK zero knowledge technology, right? So in this way, actually, we can prove that we have the reserves without expose all the information of the users.
Okay.
So that's a good way to do that. I think you mentioned that for the reality, in the real world, actually, the other companies can also use the same technology for doing that. For example, the traditional banks, right?
Yeah.
A few years ago, when FTX crashed, they also have the problem with banks, right?
Yeah, it was a big sign for everyone.
That's right. They can also do the same thing to the users, so people can believe them.
Okay. Yeah. And for can you please just explain a bit for the implementing of this process of the zero knowledge implementing into your system? How long it take for you period of time?
Yeah.
And how many resources did you put to implement the principles of zero knowledge inside your platform?
Oh yeah, at the beginning actually it's quite hard.
Okay.
So I think in the beginning the infrastructure is not good enough. You need to do a lot of things by yourself.
Initial preparations.
You know the algorithm, but you don't have a mature code or application to do the work you want to do. So you need to hire developers. They work on the algorithm. They implement the algorithm to program, right? So we spend I think more than 1 year on doing that. We're doing that on Scratch. But we finally we solved that, and we open source it. Also, infrastructure on GitHub. Everybody can use it. We have the instructions people can read, and we open source. They have the codes they can use. So
you're transparent.
Yeah, it's transparent, and also we can help the community. They don't need to do the work for themselves for the whole year, right? They don't need to spend money and resources on that. They can just use the codes, use the instructions on that. That's much easier for them.
Okay, Dr. Han, I got it. And what is your, let's say, outlook on the future of smart contracts in this way? Do you believe any new use cases that could potentially make a revolution on the current application?
Oh, sure. Smart contract, I think, is a great invention in the history of crypto. That's a great thing. We use smart contract everywhere in the DeFi, Web3, everywhere in crypto world, right? But the problem is that most of the applications actually still on-chain. On-chain means you can do the smart contract with the data only on the blockchain. You cannot process data outside the blockchain, right? So I think that's the limitation of this application of smart contract, right? But I think in the future, after this problem is solved, you need a bridge to let the smart contract access the data in the real world, not only on-chain but also off-chain. We call it like Oracle, right? You need to have an Oracle to let it to happen. So after that, you can use the smart contract everywhere in the real world. When we sign contracts we need to have a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
To review everything by us and also by the counterparties. We also need to review everything. You spend a lot of money on that, right?
Yeah, and you have to connect as more industries as possible, because it's not only a word smart contract. It's already in a let's say interface. You have to involve as much as possible.
Right. That's right. And after when we have smart contracts with the real world, you see, you can lower the costs a lot. You don't need to hire lawyers. You have all the rules already in the smart contract, and if you are wrong, with the rules, and eventually you can access the data in the real world and have the result. We all recognize, right? That's amazing for the real world.
Right. Yeah. And speaking about future of smart contracts and the future of any other thing in the crypto, as concerns about the energy consumption and the environmental impact of the future, how do you think the proof of stake has the potential to become the dominant consensus about your algorithms, or you do not believe this?
I do believe. Okay. I think it's already the dominant of this industry, proof of stakes.
Yeah.
You see that now the only the major crypto still using proof of work is Bitcoin, right? Yeah. The other most of the other major projects like Ethereum and the other projects, they are already using proof of stake, right? It's like you mentioned that it's energy saving. For Bitcoin, they have a long history, already 15 years, right? So for Bitcoin, people used to doing proof of work. You cannot change it easily in one day, right? But now you can see that the incentive of proof of work from Bitcoin is lower and lower every 4 years, right? Yeah. So you see the hashing rate is still growing. I don't think for now we did the mining business before, but I think it's harder and harder. Now you cannot get a lot of return from there anymore. For example, after another 4 years, the incentive will be lower, much lower than now, half than now, right? I don't think it will be safe enough to protect the network with time goes. So I think even in the future, people will think about how to change Bitcoin consensus algorithm to proof of stake.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's not the only question about the environment. For sure. Sure. Environment is number one.
Right.
But this is the one, but not the only one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because a lot of things influence on the proof of stake algorithm, which is more, let's say, more modern and logical at the recent days.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's safer.
And safer. Correct. Right. And about this, about the safe, so the privacy protection in a blockchain is some kind of a very critical concern. So, do you believe that the privacy-focused cryptocurrencies and related technologies will do mainstream?
Oh yeah, I do think everybody needs privacy, right? It's quite important for people, for the normal use, right? People don't want to, have everybody watching everything on the blockchain of your activities, right?
In a modern life.
Yeah, that's right.
21st century.
Yeah, I think it's quite reasonable to have privacy, right? But sometimes when we have privacy technologies, you can see that on the blockchain, there's also side effects. I mean, sometimes you need to think about the side effects. For example, for criminal applications, right? You need to think about that. That's a challenge for us to balance the reasonable privacy requirement and also the criminal requirement, right? So that's quite important. Otherwise, you see, you have a big challenge from the regulation, right?
Yeah.
So I do think we can have some technologies to balance and solve the problem in the future.
Yeah, and these challenges they are all cope with the crypto community. So crypto community develop itself. They bring the industry forward, and I can but mention that the community play the most important role in the crypto industry. And I would like to ask you: is there any, let's say, particular community or community culture that has left a strong impression on you?
Oh yes. For example, MemeCoin recently, right?
Yeah.
Community play a key role on that. for sure. I think when we talk about blockchain, we also always say decentralization, right?
Yeah.
So decentralization is and also consensus is the key role in this industry. Community, I think they have the same features. Like community, everybody they can work together. They can see what they want to say. They can contribute, what they have, right? Yeah. So they all work together. This is like a decentralized way, right? And also, when they talk together, they can have their own consensus, right? When they talk. So, you can also see that in the community, right? They have the power, very strong power. People now know that. Even like Mimecon, they have ideas, they have like name, right? When they have consensus, they can all hold this, they can launch this project and they can hold this asset and they can have a lot of value for this project, right? I think that's the power of the community. Yeah. That's amazing. I also surprised about that. Otherwise, I cannot understand what happened with that.
So the culture, the crypto community culture, like bring forward, bring more networking inside.
Yeah.
And what is your thoughts about different? Let's compare.
Yeah.
Let's compare community of crypto community and the normal, or let's say traditional business culture. How does the trustless aspect of the crypto space influence on business logic right now?
Right. For traditional business, as you said, trust is quite important.
Yeah.
Right. Because we don't have like others, method to measure. When we meet each other, when we do business, we need to know each other, right? That means I need to spend time on knowing, the partners, and maybe the other way is that we need to let the other people to introduce. Otherwise, we cannot trust. You see, like when I travel to Japan, I feel that the Japanese, they are very traditional. Yeah. You see that how they do business. When you go to Japan, if you want to do business, even if you are like individual, you want to do something in Japan, at the beginning it's quite hard, right? Because they don't know you. You have to let somebody to introduce you to everything.
That's true.
But so after you do business, they are longer and longer. They know you already. Everything is quite easy, much easier than before. And for crypto world, actually, in this industry, it's different story. When you mentioned that the community, right? When you do business in crypto, people don't need to trust you. They trust the algorithm. They trust the blockchain, right? You can have like a smart contract.
They trust the hardware.
That's right. They trust hardware, right?
Yeah, instead of personals.
That's right.
Or like speaking heads.
That's right. I think the good way is that, because you do like business online, right?
It's
hard to that people to know you. You cannot trust you. You could be like in any country, anywhere. Yeah. When you escape, people cannot find you. So, you cannot always rely on trustness, right? So it's quite important to rely on some algorithm, blockchain, right? So, this is the power of that. It can lower the cost a lot when you're doing business.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. And by the way, we already like a bit touched the offline thing of this all the crypto area. And you mentioned you traveled to Japan.
Yeah.
And I would like to know more about how do you typically spend your days at work? What is your routine?
For my day of work, I'm quite busy every day, so I manage the company.
I can imagine.
People, right? Yeah. So, and also the challenge is that, we need to do all the work online. We don't have office offline. We have people all over the world, so we all work online. And my time zone is different from the other people. So I, adapt my own time zone. So usually I work in the night. So, I have to sleep in the daytime and also work in the night. So that's how I manage my time. Yeah.
Okay, so your let's say time schedule is more focused on the night time. Then how do you? For sure, you have some kind of personal time.
Yeah.
And what type of activities do you enjoy outside of your work? Because you told that you mostly focus on the nighttime activities. And a part of work. What is your, let's say, activities that you enjoy outside?
Oh, sure. sometimes I also need to do like exercise, right, for myself. Especially for my age, I need to do that. But I don't have enough time on that. So my way is that when I work, when I have like meetings, I have phone calls, right, I have long meetings. So I do the fast walking when I have the meetings. So I do the exercise at the same time when I work. And and also after work, I spend some time on like YouTube to have some new knowledge from the other.
Or just to focus on other things.
Yeah, that's right. I
because
can do that,
my grandma even she told that the best relaxation time for the body and for the mind is just changing the activity.
That's right.
Not laying down on the sofa. And in this case, so you are quite overloaded person, so there are a lot of pressure on you, but it wasn't like this years ago. I would like to ask more deeply inside your, let's say, childhood and teenager period. So what was your childhood dream, and does it relate to your current profession in any way, or is your child dream it's implemented into reality or not?
I do think so. You see, when I was a child, my dream is that when I grow up, I want to be a scientist. Yeah, so I do work in that way. So I study very good at that time. So after I graduate, I also try to get like more like professional work doing research. So this
child dream, it pushes you to make to make some kind of passion to your professional life.
Right. So I like to study like new science, like physics. So I studied physics in my university.
Okay.
When I in the graduate school, I studied like electronics, and also I have my PhD degree in Canada, where I study photonics. Photonics is like physics. You study light wave in a microscope. So I did research for a few years.
Awesome. So your childhood dream leads you to the position where you are right now.
Right.
I could say.
Yeah. That's right.
And what is your, like, you mentioned that you travel a lot. For sure, I believe that as a CEO of such a big company, of such a big platform, you travel a lot. And before that time, you traveled to Canada. You mentioned for your studies.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite place to visit, or what is your place of your power, or what is your a lovely place to be, or alone, or with your family members, or with the friends, and maybe you can share the most, let's say, memorable experience from this kind of trips. Or for me, for example, I just would like to a part of my traveling all over the world, from USA to UAE to Russia and any other countries. For me personally, I prefer quiet place in my grandma house. I see a lot of in the world, a lot of things, a lot of networking, a lot of I even can realize my dreams. But for me, my place of power and the best trip for me is a trip for my small town of where my grandmother grew up.
Wow.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, for me, I do travel a lot, but most of the time actually I travel all by myself. Yes, so different countries, they have different cultures, different characters.
That's true.
So I, in every country I travel by myself. Most of the time I spend my time to learn the local cultures. I like to do walking on the street and see, the people living there, the buildings, the park, everything there. I like to do that. I still remember, one time when I traveled to Saudi Arab, the city called Riyadh. Have you been there?
Yeah, I've been there.
Right?
I've been there.
Riyadh is quite big, but I'm Chinese. So when I travel there, I find that there's not a lot of Chinese people there. Although Chinese people are all over the world, everywhere, right? But not a lot of Chinese people there. I feel like at that moment, I feel like lonely there. When I'm walking on the street, I view everything. It's kind of different from my traditional culture, quite different from that. but I met somebody on the street. He recognized me. He said that, "Are you a Chinese?" I said yes. He said, "I'm from Pakistan. We are good friends. The country is good friends.
At least you are close to each other.
Yeah, we are close to each other." He mentioned that. He said that we can take a photo together. That's
why not?
Yeah, stranger for me, but they are very kind. So I can feel the warm when you walk there.
Yeah,
it's good
the
moment.
Same to me. If you, for example, I went for different small countries in China, and there I also felt myself as I'm alone there.
Yeah.
That's and
right.
the same to me. I just this like simple people on the streets, they just looking on you. Like something strange, and they sometimes would like to make a photo because it's something different for them. I bring something different for their routine. So a part of this case in Riyadh, during this traveling, because I believe you travel a lot and you have to travel a lot.
Yeah.
Have you had any cultural experiences that stood out to you?
Oh yeah, I mentioned Japan, right?
Yeah.
I traveled to Japan this year 3 times. I do have an impression there. People there, I think, they are very good people. They care about all the details. They treat you very well.
Disciplined.
Yes. So I remember, last time I been there, I visited like a hot spring hotel. Hot spring like a hot tub, right? So at the hotel, the service there are very good. When they serve the dinner for us, because I'm Chinese, I cannot recognize the Japanese, so I don't know, what the food is. So how they treat you? Like they have the food for you, and also they bring like a paper and they write down all the Chinese name of every food and also every materials in the food.
Wow.
In Chinese, they don't know Chinese, but I don't know how they do that. So they write down all the Chinese things for you to recognize.
So it's some kind of a respect for another nation.
That's right, and they do all the things in details. You can feel.
Yeah. Usually, all greater things they are shown in a small details.
Yes.
And this, if I were you, if I was you, and in this situation, I could be very impressed.
That's right.
The small things influence me very, very much.
That's right.
And we are a bit out of time, but I would like to ask a lot of questions for you because you are such an interesting person to speak to. And me personally, as a member of our team and the speaking head for our audience, and I'm sure that the audience would like to hear some advice from such a great person as you. Can you please name, or what is, in your opinion, what is the most important quality for a leader? Because you're leading a big company, and you, for sure, not everyone could do the same job. Not everyone could be on the same position. Yeah. It's for people who are at least ready for this, and for those who have some kind of a set of the qualities. Yeah. So what, in your opinion, the most important qualities for a real leader?
Oh, that's a very good question. When I graduated from school, actually, I never worked for a company before. So I started the startup in this industry. But from the experience I have in the past 11 years, I do recognize, how to be like a leader in the company. I think the most important things, several most important things. One thing is that you need to have the ability to learn new things all the time. Otherwise, you cannot catch up. Especially like in the industry, like blockchain, right? It's moving very fast.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing is that you need to have ability to expand your view. Like when you have the view, you can guide people in the right direction. That's quite important for us, for a company. I think another thing is that you need to have the courage to take the responsibilities. That's quite important. In this industry, everything is quite new. You need to have the courage to make the right direction, especially when you don't have any reference, right? In history. So you have to do it all by your own, and you need to have the courage to take all the responsibilities, happen to be later, right?
Yeah.
So that's quite important for a leader.
And how do you think these qualities they are given to a person from the date of birth, or you could, let's say, train these qualities during your whole life?
I think both. Some of the qualities you have in the gene. For example, you can take like a very high pressure,
Yeah.
right? So you can handle that easily. You don't get angry when you have that
Correct.
kind of pressure, right? But most of the qualities actually you have to train. For example, me, before I do this industry, this startup company, I only study in school. I don't know anything about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You need to train yourself.
Yeah.
You have like good features. You also have like bad features. You need to
You need
think
to
about that.
educate
yourself,
Yeah.
right? And train yourself to adapt this work.
That's true. And yeah, I got your point. So you do need to do both.
Right.
And for example, if you will have a chance, for example, anytime in the world, anytime in your life, if you could say at least one thing to you as a child, to you as a teenager, to your younger version, to your younger self, what it would be?
I think because I spent too much time on the technology at home by myself. I think if I want to say something to a younger me, I think I want to say that I should meet more people, talk with people more, and in that way, actually, you can learn much faster.
Right. It's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a good good strategy.
Yeah.
So, guys, please, this is the let's say advised from a very advised, experienced person. So just have a look on it. And as a leader, as a real leader, how do you handle stress and challenges? Do you have any specific, let's say, techniques to stay calm and focused, or you think about something, or you imagine something? Because modern world, I think that the most stressed period of time right now. So how do you handle stress and challenges?
Oh yes, I think that is quite important for me to stay like a leader in this company, in this industry. Because I'm facing like stress, pressure all the time in this industry. So one thing I mentioned that is the quality of yourself, right? So I didn't know that before, but when I experienced a lot of things, I find that I can handle the stress very good. I can do that. Even it's very high pressure, I can still handle that. But another thing is that appearance is also quite important for you, because at the beginning when you experience the hard time,
foundation,
it's very it's very hard for you to handle. You feel you get crushed. You don't know how to handle that. But when you experience that, you feel that it's okay, right? Nothing bad. You can handle that. So you need to have the appearance, and then you will be stronger and stronger.
That's a very very right. Because when you do not have way out, it's always good to look back and what is your foundation.
That's right.
What's your grounds? What's your roots?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very very it could be helpful to back to roots.
That's right.
And I don't know, from my personal opinion, I think that could be a very good station to finish our today's conversation.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
It was very, very, for me, it was, let's say, very, something very personal, because you really gave us, and me and our audience, good advices.
Yeah.
Apart from the professional thing, I mentioned again that our people would like to know more about you, about your principles, about your lifestyle, about who you are. So I would like to appreciate you, appreciate this time, appreciate this opportunity for you and your team. Very, very glad to see you for the first time, and then I hope that it wouldn't be the last one.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Dr. Han, for sharing your insights with us, with all of us today. And it has been incredibly informative to learn something new about your journey to the crypto industry, to crypto investing, and the fascinating the story, what was behind the Gate.io. So we appreciate your time again. We appreciate your experience, your expertise, and I hope it could be even better way for Gate.io in the future.
Well, thanks
Okay.
a lot.
Thank
It's
you
also
very
my
much.
honor to take the interview from Crypto View. Yeah.
Thank you so
a lot.
much.
Yeah, thank
Nice
you.
to meet you
Thank
again.
Yeah.
So guys, this is it for today. I would like to tell you that for me personally, for so far, it was the most important guest on our channel. I hope we will do some more stuff together. I hope we could bring more to crypto industry so far. So this is it for today. Thank you very much for your time. I would like to share the links under this video, and I would like to receive comments, maybe direct comments,
Sure, thank you.
for Dr. Khan or for us, and your wishes. So we're waiting for your subscriptions and likes. See you in the next videos. Bye bye.